The first encounter. The galaxy was vast, stretching across infinite stars and countless planets. Many races had risen to power, each with their own unique abilities and advanced technology. The most feared of them all were the Eldera, a species that controlled entire sectors of space. They had a reputation for their immense strength and ruthless conquests, having wiped out entire civilizations without mercy. But even the Eldera never expected to encounter something that would change their entire perception of the galaxy: humans. It all began when the Eldera set their eyes on a small, seemingly insignificant planet in the outer rim of the galaxy. To them, Earth was nothing more than a primitive world, far behind in technology and military power. The humans were just another race to conquer, and they would not be a challenge. The Eldera's plan was simple: invade the planet, take its resources, and enslave its people. The invasion was swift. The Eldera's massive warships entered Earth's orbit with ease, unleashing terrifying waves of firepower upon the planet's defenses. They thought they would face no resistance, but they were wrong. Humanity, though technologically inferior, was not weak. The humans, with their resourcefulness and desperation, fought back with every ounce of strength they had. At first, it seemed hopeless. The humans' weapons were primitive compared to the Eldera's advanced technology. Their air force was no match for the Eldera's powerful warships. But the humans had something the Eldera didn't: creativity and adaptability. As the invasion forces landed on Earth's surface, humanity's military quickly adapted to the new threat. They used guerrilla tactics, striking from hidden locations and using their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. For the Eldera, this was unexpected. The humans weren't following the rules of conventional warfare. They didn't care about following the tactics that other civilizations used. Instead, they fought fiercely, with a determination that the Eldera had never encountered before. Humans were not just defending their homes, they were fighting for their survival. And they would not give up easily. The first major battle took place in the heart of a major city. The Eldera descended from the sky in their enormous ships, aiming to establish a foothold. They deployed their ground forces, sleek and heavily armed soldiers who seemed unstoppable. But as they landed, they were met with an unexpected challenge. Human soldiers, armed with makeshift weapons and improvised tactics, sprang from every corner. Using the city's infrastructure, they ambushed the Eldera forces, striking when the invaders least expected it. The humans knew their environment better than the invaders ever could. They turned the city into a maze, with every street, alley, and building becoming a potential battlefield. The Eldera were used to battles that followed the rules of war. They had faced countless enemies, and in all their years of conquest, they had never been outsmarted like this. The humans fought with a relentless spirit, pushing the Eldera forces back time and time again. Every time the invaders thought they had the upper hand, the humans found a new way to turn the tide. It wasn't just the soldiers that surprised the Eldera. The human civilians, once thought to be weak and helpless, were also fighting back. They formed resistance groups, sabotaging the Eldera's machinery, blowing up supply lines, and attacking their communication networks. The invaders soon realized that Earth's inhabitants were not as defenseless as they had once believed. The battle raged on for days. The Eldera commanders were perplexed. They had expected the humans to break under pressure, to surrender quickly. But the humans had shown them something different. The invaders were growing frustrated. They had faced many enemies before, but this one was different. The humans were not just defending. They were fighting back with a purpose. They were fighting for their future, for their families, and for their home. After several days of fierce combat, the Eldera decided to use their most powerful weapon, a weapon that could obliterate entire cities with a single strike. But as they prepared to launch the devastating assault, they received an unexpected communication. It was a message from the human leader, a young general who had quickly become the face of humanity's resistance. The message was simple but filled with defiance. The general warned the Eldera that if they destroyed Earth, they would never conquer it. The humans would not be broken. They would fight until their last breath. And the general made one thing clear: if the Eldera destroyed Earth, they would be the ones who suffered the most. For the humans had something the Eldera did not understand: an unyielding will to survive. The Eldera hesitated. This was not how things were supposed to go. They had never faced a foe like this before. They had never encountered a species so willing to fight, so determined to survive. It was clear now that this was not just a battle for Earth. It was a battle for the very soul of the galaxy. As the Eldera commanders deliberated, the humans continued their relentless resistance. They refused to give up, even when the odds were stacked against them. And in the heart of the battle, something incredible happened. The humans found a way to turn the tide. Using their ingenuity and quick thinking, they managed to sabotage the Eldera's command ship, causing massive damage to their fleet. The Eldera forces, now in disarray, began to retreat. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to survive, and to fight back. The humans had not only defended their world, they had sent a message to the galaxy: they would never be defeated. And so, for the first time in the galaxy's history, the most powerful species in the universe had been forced to retreat by a race they once thought was nothing more than a fleeting nuisance. The humans had proven their worth, and the galaxy would never forget it. This was only the beginning. The humans had shown that they were not just survivors, they were warriors. And as the Eldera retreated, they knew one thing for sure: humanity was not a race to be underestimated. They had just begun to fight, and the galaxy would feel the full force of their wrath. The humans' victory over the Eldera was unexpected, and it sent ripples throughout the galaxy. The powerful species that had ruled for centuries were forced to retreat, their pride shattered. The galaxy, once so confident in its dominance, now stood on the edge of uncertainty. What had happened on Earth was a message to every race in the cosmos. Humans were not to be underestimated. Back on Earth, the victory felt sweet. Cities still smoldered from the brutal conflict, but humanity had emerged victorious. However, their success came with a heavy cost. The battle had destroyed much of their infrastructure, and the war had left Earth's population shaken. Despite this, the humans knew they could not afford to rest. The Eldera would regroup, and they would return. The galaxy was not going to forget what had happened. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's leaders called an emergency summit. The people had fought bravely, but now they faced the challenge of rebuilding. With most of their military resources spent, the human race needed to adapt quickly if they were to defend their planet in the future. The government worked around the clock to organize global forces, and scientists began developing new technologies to match the Eldera's advanced weaponry. However, it wasn't just the Eldera that were taking note of Earth's resilience. The other species of the galaxy watched with growing concern. The Kroger, a brutal race of warrior aliens, sent scouts to Earth's orbit. The Viral, a mysterious and intelligent race, monitored communications from their hidden ships. The galaxy had a new player, and none of them knew what to make of it. But there was one thing that was clear: humanity was no longer a small, insignificant species on the edge of the galaxy. The humans had proved themselves capable of more than anyone had imagined. And now, the galaxy would have to adjust to this new reality. Back on Earth, the leader of the resistance, General Michael Hartman, was becoming a symbol of humanity's defiance. He was not just a military figure. He was the face of the human will to survive. He spoke of unity, resilience, and strength, rallying nations to continue the fight. His message was clear. Earth had faced a powerful enemy and won, but the war wasn't over. Not yet. One fateful day, General Hartman received an encrypted message from an unknown source. It was a warning, a transmission from deep within the galaxy. The message came from an anonymous alien race, one that had watched the humans' victory closely. They told Hartman that Earth had made a powerful enemy in the Eldera. The Eldera, it seemed, had been the enforcers of a delicate balance in the galaxy, and their failure was creating chaos. The message revealed a truth that Hartman had never considered. The galaxy was not just a collection of planets and species. It was an empire, held together by a fragile web of power. The Eldera had played the role of enforcers, ensuring that no one species would rise too quickly, that no one race would become too powerful. But with their defeat, the power balance was shifting. Hartman read the message in disbelief. Could it be true? Had humanity just toppled one of the galaxy's most powerful races without realizing the consequences? The more he thought about it, the more the reality of the situation set in. The galaxy was filled with enemies, and many of them would not be so forgiving. As humanity continued to rebuild, they became more aware of the forces gathering in the shadows. It wasn't just the Eldera that they had to worry about. Other races were watching, waiting for an opportunity to strike. The humans had become a threat to the established order, and in the cold vastness of space, threats were eliminated without hesitation. In the next few months, the tension in the galaxy grew. The Kroger began making aggressive moves, taking control of distant planets and sending waves of scouts to Earth's borders. The Virile, once content to observe, now began to take an interest in Earth's future. The humans were a rising force, and every empire in the galaxy wanted to know whether they would be allies or enemies. General Hartman continued to receive messages, each one more cryptic than the last. Some were warnings, others were threats. There were whispers of ancient alliances that had been shattered by the humans' victory. Earth's place in the galaxy was being debated in high council meetings across many different races. Should humanity be destroyed to maintain the peace, or should they be embraced as new allies? No one knew the answer. The humans, however, had no intention of being passive players in this galactic drama. Hartman gathered his generals and military leaders to prepare for what might be the most difficult battle of all, the fight for humanity's place in the galaxy. They had shown their strength on Earth, but the true test was yet to come. Earth had proven it could defend itself against an alien invasion, but how would it fare against the full weight of the galaxy's powers, united against them? This was no longer just about defending their home. It was about securing their future. Every move the humans made would have consequences. Every alliance they formed, every decision they made, would ripple across the galaxy. And then, just as Hartman began to prepare for the inevitable, the galaxy gave him an unexpected gift. A long-lost technology, one thought to be nothing more than a myth, was discovered deep within Earth's archives. This technology had the potential to change the entire course of the galaxy, but it came with a dangerous price. Those who sought its power would face unimaginable challenges. The question was no longer just how humanity would survive. It was how far they were willing to go to protect their future. Could they harness the power of this new discovery before others found it? And if they did, what would it mean for the future of the galaxy? The galaxy was watching, waiting, and humanity had just begun to realize the true cost of their victory. The Eldera might have retreated for now, but the real battle was only just beginning. The tension in the galaxy continued to build. The humans, now firmly entrenched in their place on the galactic stage, were caught in a web of complex alliances, shifting powers, and growing dangers. General Michael Hartman, still the face of humanity's defiance, knew that the next steps were crucial. They could not afford to make any missteps. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on their actions. As the months passed, Earth's military leaders focused their efforts on preparing for the worst. While they worked on advancing their technology and rebuilding their defenses, they also sought to understand more about the new threats that were rising. The Kroger, a fierce and merciless race of warlords, had begun a campaign of terror against nearby systems. Their ships, massive and heavily armed, were becoming more frequent in the galactic fringes. The Virile, a race of intelligent and mysterious beings, remained largely silent, but their increased surveillance of Earth made it clear that they were taking a keen interest in humanity's movements. Then, a new and unsettling message came through the communication channels. It was an encrypted transmission, and this time, it wasn't from an anonymous alien race. The message came from an old, long-forgotten ally, the Vortaka, a peaceful race that had once helped humanity during the early days of the first interstellar contacts. The Vortaka had vanished when the Eldera rose to power, but now they were reappearing, and their message carried an ominous warning. Humanity is being watched, the message began, and not all of your allies are as trustworthy as they seem. The galaxy is about to change, and you must be ready to adapt. There are factions out there who will stop at nothing to see you fall. Trust no one, not even those who claim to help you. General Hartman's heart sank as he read the transmission. His first instinct was to call for a meeting with the Leadership Council to discuss this new warning. But he knew that, in the cold reality of space, trusting anyone was a dangerous game. The galaxy had become a vast and uncharted battlefield, with alliances and betrayals occurring faster than anyone could keep up. As Earth's military began to focus on strengthening its defenses, Hartman knew they would need more than just weapons and soldiers. They needed intelligence. They needed to understand the galaxy's politics, the hidden factions, and the races that had long remained in the shadows. To do this, he called upon a team of Earth's best and brightest to form a cover unit, the Black Star Initiative. Their mission was simple: infiltrate the galaxy's networks, gain intelligence on enemy movements, and discover who was really pulling the strings behind the scenes. But even as Earth worked to protect itself from the external threats, internal strife began to stir. Political factions within Earth's government debated over how far they should go in defending humanity. Some leaders called for a peaceful approach, hoping that diplomacy would shield Earth from the rising threats. Others, like Hartman, were preparing for war. His message was clear: we do not have the luxury of peace. The galaxy will come for us. We must strike first. The tensions grew as Hartman's words spread throughout Earth's leadership. Some of the Earth counselors saw his message as a rallying cry, while others feared it would push humanity into a war that they could not win. Yet, despite the debates, one thing was clear: Earth was preparing for an uncertain future. The first real sign of that future came when the Krogar warships, once a distant threat, arrived in Earth's orbit. Their ships, massive and intimidating, hung in space like dark clouds. The Kroger's arrival was no longer a matter of if. They had come. General Hartman stood at the command center, looking at the fleet of Kroger ships that filled the sky. This was not a diplomatic mission. This was a threat. The Kroger do not come in peace, Hartman muttered to his council. They come to conquer. They want what we have, our resources, our technology, and they will not leave without taking it. Hartman's words sent a chill through the room. The Krogar had a reputation for being brutal. They were conquerors, and they had been successful in subjugating countless worlds. Earth was just one of many planets in their sights, but there was something different this time. The humans weren't going to go down without a fight. The Krogar fleet began to broadcast their demands over the communication channels. Surrender, the message boomed. Join the Kroger Empire or face annihilation. The galaxy will bow to our might, and so will Earth. Hartman's hand clenched into a fist. We will not bow to anyone, he said, his voice unwavering. Prepare our forces for battle. As the human fleet mobilized, tensions boiled over. Earth's leaders were divided. Some wanted to negotiate with the Kroger, hoping to avoid bloodshed. But the others, led by Hartman, knew that negotiation with the Kroger was a fool's game. The only thing they understood was power. The battle that followed would test humanity's strength like never before. Earth's military, though smaller and less experienced in galactic warfare, had a powerful advantage: their unrelenting will to survive. It was a trait that no other species had counted on. And as the first shots were fired, the galaxy watched. But there was more at stake than just Earth's survival. As the humans fought for their freedom, the galaxy's hidden powers began to stir. The Varel, the mysterious race that had been watching Earth from the shadows, were not yet ready to reveal themselves. but their presence was felt as a strange energy surged across the galaxy. Something was coming, something much bigger than the Kroger, and the humans would soon find themselves in the center of it all. The battle for Earth was only the beginning. The battle for Earth raged on. Humanity's forces, though smaller in number, fought with unmatched tenacity. The Kroger, despite their superior technology and sheer size, were not prepared for the ferocity of the human defense. General Hartman, standing at the helm of Earth's fleet, watched as the battle unfolded in space. His mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. The Kroger would not surrender easily, but Hartman had no intention of letting them win. "Focus all fire on their flagship," Hartman ordered, his voice cold and decisive. "Take down their command center. Without it, their fleet will collapse." The human fleet surged forward, their weapons lighting up the dark expanse of space as they launched a relentless assault on the Kroger flagship. The battle was brutal. Explosions rocked the battlefield as human warships clashed with Kroger vessels, and yet, for every Kroger ship destroyed, a human vessel fell as well. The odds seemed stacked against Earth, but Hartman knew that victory wasn't just about firepower. It was about strategy, about using every advantage they had, even when it seemed like there were none. However, in the midst of the chaos, a new force emerged. It was subtle at first, just a flicker of strange energy, something unexplainable, but then it grew stronger, pulsing through the battle. The Kroger began to retreat, as if some invisible hand had pushed them back. For a moment, the humans thought it was a fluke, maybe a glitch in their systems. But as the energy surged again, it became clear this wasn't just an anomaly. Something, or someone, was intervening. Hartman watched as the Kroger ships, once so bold, suddenly broke formation and pulled back. The human fleet, too, hesitated. They had no idea what was going on, but the sudden change in the battle's momentum was undeniable. Could it be reinforcements, or something even more dangerous? Before Hartman could order his fleet to advance, a strange transmission came through the communication channels. It was a distorted voice, almost unintelligible at first. But as the message cleared, the words became unmistakable. "This is not your battle, General Hartman." The voice was calm, almost serene, and yet it sent a chill down Hartman's spine. His instincts told him this was no ordinary alien force. The voice spoke again. "You have done well, but now the true test begins. The Kroger are but pawns in a much greater game." Hartman's hands clenched around the controls of his ship. "Who are you?" he demanded. The voice paused, then replied, "We are the Viral. We have watched you, Earth, and now we have come. You will learn the truth of why the galaxy fears your kind. But beware, those who seek to control you will not let you stand unchallenged." As the transmission ended, a sense of dread settled over Hartman. The Viral had been watching them. The mysterious race, known for their intelligence and secrecy, had been observing humanity's rise, and now, it seemed, they were making their presence known. But why? What did they want with Earth? The battle continued to rage around him, but Hartman's mind raced. Was this the intervention he had sensed before? The Viral had spoken of a greater game, and that sent a ripple of fear through him. What did they mean by that? What was Earth about to be pulled into? As the Kroger retreated, the human fleet gained ground, but the victory felt hollow, incomplete. The unknowns had only multiplied, and the galaxy now felt more dangerous than ever. Hartman knew that they had won a single battle, but the war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. "Get me everything on the Viral," Hartman ordered, his voice urgent. "I want to know who they are, what they want, and why they're here." His command was followed without question. As Earth's best intelligence officers scrambled to gather information, Hartman stood alone, looking out at the stars. The war with the Kroger had been brutal, but the galaxy had shown its true nature. A web of hidden powers, secret alliances, and dark forces was at play, and Earth was now a key player in a game much bigger than they could have imagined. Hours passed, and reports flooded in. The Viral were known for their ability to manipulate energy and influence the very fabric of space itself. They had once been allies of the Kroger, but for reasons unknown, they had broken away from their brutal comrades. And now, they were speaking directly to humanity. What did this mean for the future of Earth? The reports were incomplete, but one thing was clear. The Viral's appearance in the battle was no accident. They had been waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Hartman's eyes narrowed as he pieced together the information. If the Viral were involved, then the Kroger were only the beginning of Earth's problems. There were greater forces at play, forces that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. Then, as if to punctuate his thoughts, another transmission came through. This one was from the Viral again, but this time it was different. The voice was less calm, more urgent. "General Hartman, you must prepare. The Kroger were a distraction. The true enemy is now coming, and Earth must be ready. You have been warned." The transmission ended abruptly, and once again, the galaxy felt more uncertain than ever. Something much larger than the Kroger was heading their way. The question was no longer whether humanity would survive, but whether they could face the true threat, whatever it was, before it was too late. Hartman turned to his officers. "Ready the fleet. We have no idea what we're about to face, but we will stand united. We fight, not just for Earth, but for the future of the galaxy." The galaxy had always been a place of mystery and danger. But now, humanity had become a part of something much bigger, and there was no turning back. The true war was just beginning. The weeks following the Viral's warning were filled with tension and uncertainty. The Kroger's retreat had left humanity victorious, but the real threat was still unknown. General Hartman, now leading the Earth forces with a new sense of urgency, knew that the victory against the Kroger was just a small part of a much larger war. In the quiet corridors of Earth's Central Command, Hartman paced back and forth. He was a man who had seen countless battles, but nothing like this. The Viral had appeared out of nowhere, offering no answers, only more questions. They claimed to be watching Earth, but for what reason? What was their ultimate goal? The threat of the Kroger was over, but the warning from the Viral lingered in Hartman's mind. The true enemy is coming. It was a terrifying thought. The galaxy was filled with powerful races, but none like the mysterious Viral. Their influence was unknown, their intentions even more so. For the first time in years, Hartman felt truly out of his depth. A loud beeping sound interrupted his thoughts. A transmission from the Viral had just come through. Hartman immediately sat at his desk, his eyes narrowing as he accepted the communication. The face that appeared on the screen was not human, nor was it like any other alien he had ever seen. The Viral were tall, their forms slender and almost translucent, their faces smooth with no distinct features except for their large reflective eyes. The voice that followed was calm, but the tone was urgent. "General Hartman," the Viral began, "you have been warned. The Kroger are nothing compared to what's coming. We have waited for the right moment to intervene, and that time is now." Hartman's fingers tightened around the armrest of his chair. "What do you mean? Who is coming?" The Viral's gaze seemed to pierce through the screen. "The enemy you face is ancient. They are older than the Kroger, older than the galaxy itself. They are known as the Zerath, and their hunger for control is unmatched." A chill ran down Hartman's spine at the mention of the Zerath. He had heard the name in passing, in hushed whispers from the oldest, most knowledgeable beings in the galaxy. The Zerath were legends, creatures so powerful that even the most advanced civilizations had been destroyed by their relentless conquest. They have existed for millennia, hidden in the dark corners of the galaxy. The Viral continued, their voice steady. For years, they have watched as civilizations rise and fall. Now their eyes are on Earth. They believe humanity is a threat to their dominance. Hartman's mind raced. The Kroger had been brutal, but they were a straightforward enemy, driven by conquest and power. The Zerath, however, were different. They were ancient, cunning, and their motivations were impossible to predict. The Viral leaned forward slightly, their expression unreadable. "You have one chance to prepare, General. The Zerath are coming, and once they arrive, it will be too late to stop them. You must unite the galaxy. Rally the forces of every civilization you can. Only together can you hope to face them." Hartman leaned back in his chair, his thoughts spinning. The Viral were offering humanity an opportunity, but they also knew that this was a fight that would require more than just Earth's military might. It would take the strength of an entire galaxy to stand against the Zerath. "I understand," Hartman said, his voice grim. "How do we fight them?" The Viral's expression softened, if only slightly. "You will need more than weapons. The Zerath are not defeated by firepower alone. They will invade your minds, twist your thoughts, and crush your will. You must find allies, create new alliances, and uncover the secrets they have hidden. Only by knowing your enemy can you defeat them." The screen went dark, and the transmission ended. Hartman sat in silence for a moment, processing the gravity of the situation. The Viral had given them a warning, but they had also placed a heavy burden on humanity's shoulders. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for the soul of the galaxy. In the days that followed, Hartman issued orders to every major power in the galaxy. The time for isolation was over. Humanity needed allies, trustworthy ones, ones who could help them stand against the Zerath. However, the task was easier said than done. The Kroger, though defeated, still held sway in many parts of the galaxy. The Zor, a species once allies of the Kroger, were unwilling to join forces with humanity. And the Venari, a peaceful race known for their neutrality, refused to take sides. But Hartman refused to give up. He sent out messages to every corner of the galaxy, offering Earth's assistance in exchange for cooperation against the Zerath. Some responded positively, eager to help, while others remained skeptical. But as more time passed, more alliances were formed, and more races began to see the threat for what it truly was. The Zerath were real. They were coming. And humanity, along with their new allies, had to be ready. It was then that Hartman received another unexpected transmission, this time from the heart of the Viral's domain. The message was cryptic, as always, but the meaning was clear. "Time is short, General Hartman. The Zerath will be here sooner than you think. Prepare your people. Gather your allies. We will guide you, but the final victory is in your hands." Hartman stood up, his heart heavy with the weight of responsibility. The galaxy was on the brink of war, and humanity was right in the middle of it. But now, more than ever, he knew they could not fight alone. The final battle was coming, and it was up to Earth to lead the charge. Would humanity be able to face the Zerath and survive, or would the galaxy fall into darkness forever? The answers were still unknown, but one thing was certain: the fight for the future of the galaxy was about to begin.